Alright, you guys. It's Saturday morning, 7:15 right now. Headed to the gym for leg day. Normally for spiritual reasons, I do legs on Sunday, but lately it's kind of been a little bit mayhem in terms of order. This wouldn't be a real YouTube video if I didn't say that I have somewhat big news, but I can't say what it is yet. But some big positive changes are coming up, and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say for now. But okay, so leg day is going to be good. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do my laundry. I do not have in-unit laundry, and the in-building laundry is kind of expensive, and the dryers are not very good. I'll often get like dryer marks on my white shirts and stuff, or I have to air dry my pants, and even then there'll be like what do you call it, like the detergent will kind of concentrate in little white spots on my pants. So I'm going to take it to a laundromat, and it actually takes less time to go to a laundromat and do my laundry, not in unit, not in building, and I save money. So it doesn't really matter. Like long term, yes, it does matter saving money, but it's like a difference of like saving $1 every time I do laundry. So it's like that really doesn't add up at an appreciable rate. But also, I ordered like 10 days ago these diametrically polarized magnets to put on the axle of my stepper motor to use with the magnetic angle encoder, because the magnetic angle encoder itself came with just a cheap like one of those magnets you would use to put stuff on a fridge with. And if you think of it as a cylinder, it's a disc. It's polarized through the caps of the cylinder. That is not what you need for the magnetic angle encoder. You need something where if you drew a line across the diameter that is parallel on both sides of the cylinder, and then one semicircle and the corresponding connecting side wall of the cylinder is one polarization, then that's basically how I would describe in words what a diametrically polarized magnet is. But I ordered that like 10 days ago, and I had the tracking information, and I was loading it like all day yesterday because there's package theft problem in my current apartment, and I was like, God, I mean, it's gone down because supposedly the person who was mainly responsible for the package theft got evicted, but you still never know. And then I wasn't sure if it was going to show up like in my mailbox, but even then there would be like days when the mailboxes would appear as if they had been broken into, which is ridiculous, especially considering how much I pay for rent and it being like a supposedly luxury apartment. It's not. They just want to call it that way they can charge you more money. But the package tracking updated at like 8 o'clock yesterday, and I kept on going out to like the bottom area of my apartment where there's like the mailbox and stuff, like checking because they don't have a code like the Amazon guys to like bring it up to the door. And it's obviously going to be a small package. It's like 50 of these little disc magnets, 6 millimeters in diameter by 2 millimeters in height, and there's 50 of them. So it's like, this is going to be a small parcel. And the tracking updated at like 8 o'clock at night and was like, oh, it was delivered at 3. And I was like, well, I checked at 3 and it wasn't there. It sure wasn't there when I went back out after the tracking updated at like 8 o'clock saying it was delivered. So fingers crossed that it was dropped off at the leasing office, and they open at like noon today or something, being that it's Saturday. So the plan is leg day, laundromat. Then I want to go to the leasing office and get my magnets, hopefully, and then I will dry fit that on my apparatus, and I have the code where it doesn't visualize the induced EMF, the hall sensor is not hooked up, so I don't have the magnetic field strength readout. And obviously this will be the angle, so I'll have the possibility of getting 2 readouts out of the 3 today. But here's the other problem. As you saw with, if you did see the short that I posted of hooking up the coil to a multimeter, the voltage was like 10 plus or minus 10 millivolts max. And so this is a very small oscillating signal that I'm trying to capture here. So kind of anticipating that, even though this is like a beefy neodymium magnet that I'm swinging through the coil, right? The coil has 100 winds of coil. It's not a tiny coil, but I still need to use an op amp to amplify the signal. And if any of you guys know about analog electronics, there are ways that this could go wrong. I could end up adjusting what's like the offset voltage of where this signal is and get it clipped at like a higher voltage. So it's oscillating between like positive, negative 10 millivolts. Let's say I amplify it up with like 5 volts, but that's like the ceiling, right? Well, then I could be clipping the tops of that, and the actual peak to peak 20 millivolts hasn't been amplified. I could do the same thing on the negative side, right? Clipping it on the bottom. So what I need to do is set up this op amp so that I'm basically adjusting the offset by like 2.5 volts, let's say, and then amplifying the peak to peak magnitude. So that's like a tricky thing for me because I'm not like an electrical engineer. So I'm having to dig all this stuff out of the depths of my knowledge of analog electronic circuits, like first learning about op amps like 10 years ago, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like figuring out the the right values of resistors and capacitors and stuff to get this how I want it to be. And then I have to probably do the same thing for the hall sensor. So there's a lot of electrical engineering, you could say, that I have to do, but I'm at the gym, okay.
1 hour later.
All right, back from the gym. I figured I'd do a little physique update, pose down, since it's been a while. Before I do an outfit change, I need some donuts.
can't really see the legs. I feel like today was leg day, so it's like no intentional upper body pump. I don't know. It's like the little screen on the camera is really small, so I can't even tell. But I don't know. It is what it is. Let's do a front double bicep real quick. I don't know. All right, so it is now noon, pretty much exactly, 12 or 12:01. And so I'm going to call the leasing office, property management office, whatever, and hopefully my diametrically polarized magnets are there. But got done with my laundry, folding it, putting it all away. Now I'm doing a little bit of cooking, and I'm going to show you guys what I'm making here. So let me set this up. All right, so this is a nice, easy, quick cleanup recipe. Got the rice here. I already washed it. I wash it in this Tupperware so that I can spray the inside of the rice cooker, and then it's not gonna get rid of the spray at the bottom and stick to it, which kind of defeats the purpose of spraying at all. So let's get the rice in here. Do a little bit of water to get the last grains in here. Every grain counts. It's okay if there's a little bit of water in there, because we're going to add more liquid here. So on the side, I don't know if you probably can't see that. On the side of the rice cooker, there's a little line for how much liquid you need to put in there. And I put a half cup of rice in, so that means I have to fill it up to the one line. Each line is a half cup, so putting in beef broth here. And get it up there, nice. Shake it around a little bit. And then right here, I have half an onion, garlic, a lot, and then some ginger. I'm just gonna toss that all in on the top. Whoops. And then I'm not gonna stir it into the rice. It's important that this is kind of layered. But I am going to toss the onion, garlic, and ginger that I just added to kind of stir it up in that top layer here. So let's get it all in there. Okay. So that's all in, and then use the paddle here to toss it a little bit. Okay. Now, also going to add here a small pinch, a little nugget of brown sugar. It's kind of like a teriyaki sauce effect. Sweetens it up a little bit. This brown sugar is like dry as hell. So I've got to crack these nuggets, kind of grind it in there. I mean, it's gonna dissolve in and mix during the course of cooking, but okay. So now we got that. And now for the beef, half a pound. This is 80% lean, 20% fat. Go with the higher fat content. The key is to kind of crumble it up, but keep it all in the top layer. I don't want to submerge any of it. And this is something that for me is almost like a little bit taboo, because growing up, I've only ever seen my Asian mom's side of the family cook just pure rice only in a rice cooker. So the idea of putting meat in to cook as well is almost like a big no-no. This is like breaking the rules here. But it's like, why? I think it's just because my mom's side of the family just is not good at cooking in general. The women are not good cooks. They're not feeders. They're starvers, actually. And I almost forgot, but maybe it's a good idea to do it last. I'm adding a tablespoon of this rice wine vinegar. The online recipes I've seen call for mirin, I guess, which is like fermented, but I was like dumb and in a rush, and I didn't look in the right aisle, and I got this. It was $3, whatever. And then 2 tablespoons of soy sauce here. And last couple times I made this, I put the soy sauce and vinegar underneath the meat, but maybe it's a good idea that I'm putting it on top this time. I add more soy sauce to the dish when it's done, but this will give some oomph to the meat. And it's that easy. And just press the button, and when this is done, the meat will have steamed up and it'll be ready to go. And see how easy it is to clean up? It's like cutting board, knife, tablespoon, and got the paddle here. I have enough beef broth for I think another round, so I'll just put that in there, Tupperware it up, and it'll be ready to go for when I make this again tomorrow. So I'm trying to get rid of my rice because I haven't been cooking rice in a while. So I'm going to call my property management place now. Hopefully walk over and, fingers crossed, my magnets didn't get lost in the mail or delivered to the wrong place. So you'll find out in the next clip. Alright, big disappointment. I called the property office, whatever you call it, and they don't have a package for my address. So I'm assuming that if it says delivered, that they just brought it to the wrong building. So I guess I might walk around to all the other buildings and like peek in the front and see if I find my package, but this is not a good start. So I don't know. I guess I'll do that while I'm waiting for my beef and rice to cook. So
20 minutes later.
well, going around to the different apartment buildings in my complex was a bust. I didn't go to all of them. I sort of just like gave up. I was like looking at the numbers on all the other buildings, and they, you know, my building number, I'm not going to give away too much, but it starts with a number 2, and all the other ones would start with a number 3. So as I was going around, I was like, there's a low chance that someone, I'm assuming that this was like hand delivered, would make a mistake of dropping it off at a building with a 3 instead of a 2 at the start of it. And I was just like, it's really hot out. And anyway, so I'm going to try to get a refund or something like that. The thing is, it was like a little bit less than $15 for 50 magnets, including shipping. It's like the other ones on Amazon will take like several weeks to get here, and it costs upwards of like $30 plus shipping for fewer than 50. So maybe it made it to a different building that I didn't go to, and someone will be a good Samaritan and drop it off in the lobby of my building. But anyways, my food just finished cooking, but the button just flipped up, so now it's just warming. But I'm going to leave it for just a few more minutes after just unplugging it to sort of let it settle, and then I'm going to consume the rice and beef. So that'll kind of be a little bit of a pick-me-up after not getting my magnets, which just sets back my build even more. And it's like, I really need these special magnets. I doubt there's a way I could do a workaround without like gluing a magnet sideways onto the axle of the stepper motor, and even then it's probably not going to fit the enclosure for the magnetic angle encoder anyways. Yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Alright, so here's the final result. It kind of caramelized at the bottom, didn't stick to the rice cooker. But, okay, it was in a circular rice cooker, right? So then I just divide it in half. It makes for real easy meal prep. Boom, that one's ready to go for later. I'm going to eat this one now. I just can't get over right away how disappointed I am that my magnets didn't show up today. So I kind of want to order some more from a different supplier and then have them sent to my P.O. box. More waiting, but yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Well, I caved. I ended up ordering magnets, which I should have done this the first time. Ordered them from DigiKey, and then I'm sending them to my P.O. box. Not only did I get I got 25 magnets, because I was like, okay, shipping's like $8. I'm going to get $8 worth of magnets. So that ended up being 25. And then I was like, you know what, YOLO, I'm going to throw on more Hall sensors, because I've been using these DRV 50-55 Hall sensors, which have a good range of magnetic sensitivity, but I only got 2 last time, and I kind of want to put like several around my jig right now to kind of troubleshoot until I can get it with fewer, or ideally just one. But check this out. I'm eating right now, but you can't really see. I drew some lines and some dots on my plastic protractor piece with this big boy magnet here, where I'm going to try to cut away part of my protractor deal here so that I can adjust the height that this is inside the coil after cutting away plastic, because it kind of drags inside the coil if it's not like spot on. And this is delicious, and I feel much better after eating this rice and beef. But still bummed that I was like reloading like a crackhead all day yesterday, just like waiting for my package, being like, oh god, I hope it doesn't, get there and then someone steals it or something like that. And then it's like, okay, supposedly delivered at 3 in the afternoon. I distinctly remember going down at like 3 and being like, yo, nothing. And then I'm like loading like a crack addict again. Then 8 o'clock, the tracking says, oh, it was delivered 5 hours ago, nothing. Call the leasing office, no package. So that's a huge bummer. And I was like, okay, it originally came from China, and I think that the last mile of the delivery was done by like a hand courier from that like Chinese logistics company. But actually I think it might have been handed off at some point to the US Post Office for the last mile of the delivery. So, but it's over now. I caved and I got more magnets from DigiKey, what I should have done the first time, to my P.O. box. So being that P.O. box, it's usually like it ends up at the post office sometime in the afternoon, then I have to wait until the late morning or early afternoon the next day to actually be able to pull it out of my P.O. box. But it's like we're one step closer now, you guys. This is really good. All right, the final thing that I'm going to leave you guys with for this video. I mentioned how I'm intending to shave the plastic protractor so that I can get the magnet centered through the coil. I've taken analog measurements, so my preliminary analog results are that I'm getting about 10 millivolts amplitude sinusoidal induced EMF output from the coil. So I don't have my diametrically polarized magnets, RIP to the ones that I thought I was going to get yesterday, but I guess they're just lost in transit, misdelivered. It's just gone into the ether. So I don't have the magnets, and I just said all that, but okay, I have my analog reading preliminary measurements, if you will. Okay, so it's a small signal. It's a very small, narrow data stream, if you will. So part of what I have to do is to build the circuit around the op amp that's going to properly amplify that signal. I think I talked about this in the opening shot driving to the gym for this vlog. Okay, so it's a pain in the ass to tinker and pull out the multimeter and like try different resistors and capacitors and stuff, and then be like real time, cranking my apparatus and stuff. It's only 5 o'clock and I'm gonna fall asleep already. So you know what I did is I downloaded LTspice. I was using this website called Circuit Lab for like 30 minutes, and then it was like, oh, you have to pay for a membership. But I was like, okay, I just need something where I can draw out these circuits and do a simulation, and then I'm going to figure out what the values of all my resistors and what the network is going to look like. This is what I came up with. So, I mean, I might as well just like pop up a screenshot, but I'm too lazy to do that right now. So right here, this sinusoidal voltage input represents what's coming off of my apparatus through the coil. And then I have this V1, which is 3.3 volts. That's the rail voltage coming from the ESP32. And then everything else is just resistors, and a capacitor. And I was reading online all the stuff about op amps, like, okay, what do I need the VREF to be? What do I need the gain to be? What do I need? All this stuff, right? So I finally figured it out, and this plot summarizes what's going to happen, okay? So the green right here is like what's just raw coming off of the coil, basically this sinusoidal voltage source right here, okay? The blue is then what's going in to the op amp, okay? So it's like the source signal at the op amp, okay? And then this red one is what's coming off of the op amp as the output. And so basically, like I said, the amplitude was 10 millivolts plus or minus. And so I basically like shifted that up so it's centered. I tried to get it to like 250 millivolts. It looks, by eye it's about 240, but then 10 times gain. So instead of being 10 millivolts, we've got 100 millivolts as, actually, is that even right? It looks like it's going from, peak to peak amplitude. So it's like 50 millivolts is like the amplitude, but then peak to peak, it's 100 millivolts. So yeah, that's what I came up with. And then all of the resistor values here are ones that are like actually, you know, a single resistor from my assortment here, because I could have made for example, this is like 68K, this is 1K. If I would have changed this to like 65K, then I could have dragged this VREF, this like right here at this voltage divider, I could have dragged this onto the VREF, but I would have clipped the bottom of the signal, all these little kinds of things. So I was like, you know, keeping certain trade-offs in mind with like, I've got to cram all this stuff onto the top of this breadboard here. Like, I'm kind of running out of space to work with just on these couple of breadboards. I mean, I could print a new box, but it's like, I'm kind of running out of time, and I kind of just want to finish this, you know what I mean? I want to get this to work. So I was like, okay, this is what I've come up with. 5 resistors, 1 capacitor. The capacitor helps with like boosting this reference voltage. I don't have to use like another voltage source to like bias it, because this capacitor is going to charge up and provide the voltage supposedly to boost the signal up. But anyways, it's about time that I throw on my blue light glasses, and it's about time to just do some reading, go to sleep, even though it's only 5 o'clock. It's like I go to bed at like 6 o'clock, or I'll be like sitting trying to like go to sleep at like 6 o'clock. I might not fall asleep until like 8 or 9, but it's like I've got to be like intentionally winding down for like several hours, just like reading. Because like if I'm like sitting on my computer, if I'm like reading, I'm like sitting right here, not like where I sleep. If I'm just sitting at my desk, then, you know, it takes longer after like I say, oh, it's 8 o'clock, I'm going to stop now, I'm going to go to bed. Then it's like not until like 10 o'clock maybe that I'm actually asleep. So like it takes time for me to actually get to sleep. Anyways, that's just more rambling. I need to edit this, but this is my plan. LTspice simulation. I've got all this stuff, and yeah, that's it. See you guys in the next one.